sorry. I just love doing that. It's a lot of fun. Ooh, look at this crowd. Hey, you got elusive. The pressure's on.
I didn't prepare for this.
We'll be fine because we're just so
amazing. I told the Equestria Daily Pony Chats that we're
wow.
having a panel.
Yeah.
Why would you do that to us?
You are a douchebag.
Hey.
There's no one on there, mostly EST. Don't worry about it.
We're honored. Oh, and
Yeah.
fancy pants. What a delightful. I have a hangover, darling.
I like this variant.
I like it very much
I'm
that I
having
can control
fun
my
with
computer at
this.
this distance
Isn't that
without
the
being
point?
shot.
Please try to sit closer to the front just because fun.
It will be double.
That's a very good Dr. Adorable.
Ah!
Well, okay, originally I
That
thought
means
we
you're
would
on
have to
Tumblr.
scream,
Good for you.
but
Yay! Oh, that might have made my morning.
Don't. First rule of Tumblr is you don't talk
okay,
about Tumblr.
this isn't too bad. I mean, it's not overwhelming.
You
We can
did.
handle this. We're good. We got
I know.
this.
Got time.
I'm not sitting at the table and I feel left out.
Yeah.
No
Ready?
table for
You're
you.
breathing. Come on, elusive.
Ready,
breathe with
calm
me.
down. Just be awesome.
Yeah,
But those dresses, they were an
Cool.
abomination. I still wish I was wearing the Celestia crown.
Do you want to move that? I had that at an angle because someone was standing.
It doesn't really matter because it can still hear me, I think.
We're gonna have more people coming in.
Woo!
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome to How to Cosplay a Pony. We basically started this panel because we've been to a couple pony cosplays and been to a few conventions.
Just a few.
One too many.
And there's a lot of one of the things we noticed is there's a lot of fans that this is their first convention, this is their first time cosplaying, and we're nerds that have kind of done this for a while, so we just want to give some pro tips.
It's always helpful, trust me.
Pro tips.
Pro tips. Okay,
Shut
so
up.
first we're going to start off with what not to do. There's three main mistakes that, or improvement points I should say, that we notice with pony cosplays. One is doing too little. Let it go back.
It's kind of low, so you have to read off everything.
You did that to me?
Yeah, I did that to you.
Yes, that's a fine example of what you don't do.
Yeah, that's a fine example of what you don't do.
That one doesn't exist anymore for a reason.
That's doing too little. Don't
And it's
just
also a good example of don't make yourself just a solid color of your pony and nothing else.
I love the pink.
the other's doing too much. And what I mean by that is trying to make your costume look like a costume. You don't really need Vocaloid sleeves or fur leggings or anything like that to make your costume a costume. If you want to wear those, that's fine, but there's a lot of people that we notice that, yeah, we have a friend here that does that too.
I'm pretty.
Yes, you are pretty.
You know, I'll admit, we were kind of being amateurs about that.
Yeah, and the most important thing is people not dressing up to the personality of their pony. Rarity would never dress like this.
Oh, that
Oh,
one.
yes.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I saw this woman, and she, like, I met, well, okay, I didn't meet her, but I saw her at a convention.
That was
and
Anime
at
Expo.
first I'm like, oh, purple hair, rare. Oh.
Oh my,
She's
look
very
at the time.
pretty, but I was
To be-
very perplexed.
To be fair, it was an anime convention, so I mean,
Ponies go to
Animus.
anime conventions?
you never
Oh yeah,
know.
That's-
Animus. So you're what you're really trying to do when you cosplay ponies is you're trying to dress to that pony's personality.
Sit closer, please.
Your base costume should, if you're doing like a main 6 and not like a specific outfit, like if you're doing, like I was shining armor the other day, so I had my red military uniform on, or if you're doing future Twilight, you would have like the tight skin suit on. Those are very specific costumes. Most of the time, if you're doing like a main 6 character, you're going to have to interpret it, in which case you're just trying to match the personality of the pony. That's why I wore this. Can everyone still hear me? Okay, yeah. Without the wig, I'm not gonna take my wig off.
Good idea.
This is, yeah, I look horrifying without the wig.
Oh, duh.
It's nightmarish.
This is just a normal outfit. It's just white pants, white shirt.
You just look
simple
snazzy.
vest, yeah. just a snazzy vest because
Twilight, you stand up. You show off yours too.
Rarity always dresses in fashion.
You go from this
Oh God.
Why?
No way.
creepy
Gross.
to look at that.
Cosplaying now.
Oh my god. I'm a pony.
Yeah, one of the. I mean, there are
Mine's
obviously
specific, so
some
I can't do
exceptions to
that.
that, such as if you're doing Discord or something like that, because it's just kind of gonna be a little different. Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah, I enjoyed that sister. One of my favorite examples is this silver spoon here.
You guys can sit down
That
now.
costume is all wig, glasses, and necklace. That's all that is. And that's a
Oh, and
pretty
the way
damn
she
good
does
silver
it.
spoon.
Yeah, carrying yourself is a lot when you don't have a really elaborate cosplay.
Act like your character.
The attitude.
Arrogant.
Fashionable.
Nerd.
Fabulous.
The other thing that we highly suggest is having indicators. So ears, horns, wings, something to tell people that you're cosplaying a pony. Just because there's been several times when
Mitch, can you do a disclaimer real fast?
Yeah.
These are our personal opinions. I mean, we
Yeah.
feel like it's just what we really think. Of course, you don't have to follow us. We're not telling anyone what to do. It's just our suggestions.
yeah, we could totally be full of it right now. And I don't know why any of you would be listening to us.
Fabulous, that's why.
If
I
you,
think you're
one thing to say about make sure people can tell what you are. It's kind of sometimes if you're going for obscure characters, it's gonna happen. But
Ears on. Stop
if
this.
you're going for like a very known character and people are asking you who you are,
There's
kind of
a
gets a
problem.
little. It gets a little sad. You start to feel a little like,
It gets
oh.
awkward.
That
Like I've run
happened to
into
me
Pinkie Pies before
times.
that I didn't quite realize they were Pinkie Pies right away. Then I felt bad.
And it's not just
You-
for like the other people; it's for yourself too. Because when people start asking, you start to feel like,
You start
Yeah,
questioning
great.
yourself a little bit.
yeah.
It's you can't have the occasions where you might do an interesting variant of like a main six. I doing an awful job remembering anything specific right now.
Fly a rainbow dash.
Okay, well that's still pretty apparent though, because you got your cutie like real
True.
apparent.
Yeah.
I love this.
If you're not quite sure how to dress your personality, there's a lot of fan art because our fans seem to like be obsessed with this show or something and seem to
That's
draw a
weird.
lot of art. So if you're not quite sure what to do,
Use some
Derpy
Google.
the internet is your friend, and you can find something.
DeviantArt.
It's also gonna
DeviantArt's
think
your best
I'm sorry.
friend.
It's also gonna think about your own personality. Like, I've honestly been questioned about my rarity dress plenty of times because people usually go for the form-fitting, classy style for her. Well, my favorite fashion is Lolita, so I went with a Lolita style to rarity. So you can kind of mix in your own personality a little bit, so long as it suits the character you're trying to portray. And of course, have fun with it, guys.
I did not mix my personality into this.
You didn't.
No, not at all.
But it suits the character, right?
I don't usually wear rainbow things.
Yes.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Now we're gonna get into more of the crafting aspect of making a costume, and Kelly here is gonna tell us about wigs.
All right, darling. So here's the business. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So, for me, cosplay breaks down into 3 parts: your outfits, how you carry yourself in your poses, of course, and then your wig. It can make or break a cosplay to a point. A shitty wig can. Oh, I'm so sorry. A crappy wig can really take away from a very well done cosplay, and a really fabulous wig can actually make a cosplay you kind of ignore the little details. Just looking up wigs on eBay does not quite cut it. You guys should seriously do some research when you're doing cosplay wigs. Well-
I'm more than willing to cheat. Like if there's something pre-made,
Oh no, that's
I
fine.
will
Oh,
buy
yeah,
that
by
in a
all
minute
means,
because
if
I'm
you-
lazy, just like
Styling
everybody
is
else.
hard.
This wig, totally pre-made, fantastic, love it to death. I trimmed it because obviously I don't need a Twilight wig down to my butt.
Do not spend $100 on a wig, though.
You should
This-
spend around 30 to 40 though. You need something heat resistant so you can actually work with it.
Heat
That was my
resistant
part.
is
Because
your
I have,
friend.
yeah,
We're
I've
just
melted
helping.
wigs before. It's not fun. Unless you're doing a fursuit, which I know nothing about, you really can't like look like the characters on the show, like match how they physically look.
You're
So-
breaking her here.
Hmm?
You're breaking her.
Okay, I'll give you your section.
I'm gonna
No,
let
it's
you finish.
fine. That's perfectly fine. Maybe that's my train of thought though. Oh, well, I was gonna say this wig. I was not styled. I decided I'm gonna style it myself, guys.
Fun times.
It did not happen very well at all. But yeah, buying pre-made ones, that's perfectly fine. No, do your research. Whenever I need a wig, I look at every possible website I can find, even ones where I'm like, that website sucks, let's check it out. But anyway, so what you should be looking for specifically is ones that say a type of synthetic fiber. If you find a wig on eBay, it's $40, it says synthetic fiber. Nuh-uh, not good enough. It's probably not heat resistant.
They'll
You don't
probably
know
say
the
heat
quality.
resistant if it's heat resistant.
Well, yeah, usually, but still.
They usually brag about it.
It's kind of a big deal usually.
I'm gonna butcher this. I still do not know how to pronounce this word, but it's called like a Canterlot fiber. That is actually a pretty good one to get, and it's a decently priced wig. I got a stocking wig down to my knees for $40. Canterlot, beautiful wig. I adore it. It
Soft.
tangles, of course, but that's gonna happen no matter what. So Canterlot is probably the minimum what you're gonna want to do. Some websites will have it'll say like synthetic fiber superior to Canterlot or something like that. At least it references where it is on the chart of quality. After Canterlot is Tokyolon or something like that, or Toyokalon, something with Tokyo and Kalon in it. I found that and I was like, oh my god, what's this? So I was doing some research about it. It's a bit better than Canterlot, or however you pronounce it. The highest quality synthetic fiber you can get is Hyperlon, something like that. But that's like for
That stuff's awesome.
for lack of better words, for like black people's hair, like the wigs they get, because they know their wigs. Most of the time when I do my research, it's from a website talking about wigs for those kind of things. You might not be able to find it for cosplay, but if you ever do find a wig, high quality. Yes, as I said, heat-resistant wigs are typically a lot better to get, and if something does happen or you do need to style it, they're good. I know only actually like 2 people who can really style synthetic, like terrible synthetic fiber wigs, and they're just talented. Don't try it.
Make sure that the price matches around multiple sites, though. Like, don't go to one site and say, "Oh, the price looks good."
Yeah,
Please
It
do
might
research.
not be. They might be. Honestly, they might be saying
Mitch.
our fiber's heat resistant, but it's.
Oh, awesome.
Cool.
Yay, Windows!
But
Do your
it might not actually be that great of a material. They'll say whatever they want to say it's made out of. Just check the price, make sure it matches other ones.
Do your research.
You should get a wig that's around $30
$30
to
to $40,
$40.
like you said.
Trust me, they'll brag about it if it's heat resistant.
If it's a short one, you might get lucky sometimes and find
Oh,
it
yeah,
for
that's a good
around 20.
Short ones are actually a lot easier. I had this
Oh, they're
terrible,
wonderful.
crappy Ren Kagamine wig that's like shoulder length. And that was like the first or second wig I bought. Terrible synthetic fiber. It's fine. Short wigs aren't as big of a deal as long wigs because, you know, they tangle and.
Yeah, you definitely want to
Waves-
get the
waves
nice
motion
ones.
sprays, the tangles.
That awful rainbow dash didn't happen. The wig.
Sure.
This is you can do this. I'm gonna explain how I did that wig. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's an awful process. If you buy a light colored wig, you can color it with like.
You're suggesting they torture themselves.
If you feel like throwing yourself into that commitment, I mean, and you want to, you can make it look really nice. It just takes a ton of effort. That wig took me like a week and a half of evenings to actually color because I had to like pin parts of it aside and color it with a Sharpie. It was also a cheap wig, so that was kind of just a bad time.
Yeah.
Another thing is when you brush wigs, wig hair doesn't grow back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
pull it
Actually, I was going to talk
out.
about management here in a minute.
Yeah.
Be
Actually,
gentle.
I'm sorry, go ahead. All right, I just want to wrap up again by saying, yes, you can style your wigs, but remember, we are not anime/pony characters. Our hair is not going to do what they do. I tried to cut a Konata wig, just like Konata, and bad idea, I butchered the bangs. I was like, crud. Reference pictures, guys, reference pictures. You can even use, like, actual other wigs people have done as your reference picture, which is a good idea because they took a anime pony character, took their crazy hairstyle, and made it realistic. So yes, but as for actual like management and things you need to know, your 2 best friends for making the wig manageable, nice, and even smell very, very nice. It's called Motions Oil Spray. Buy at CVS, $5. Seriously, that stuff is beautiful. You spray it in the hair, it makes your entire room look or
That's
smell
how I
beautiful.
saved this wig. It was a tangled mess
Oh, it
beforehand.
was. This is my new wig. That's my old wig. Anyway,
management.
Motion's oil spray, again, it's an oil spray, so it makes the wig easier to comb and stuff like that. They say it's supposed to keep it from tangling a little bit, but you spray it all through the wig, get it really nicely coated, let it dry overnight, and then try to comb through it. I'm pretty sure anyone who has dealt with wigs before knows this rule. You start at the bottom and work your way up. Slow, painful process, but be careful because, again, synthetic hair fibers do not grow back. I learned this hard way. So that's the first best friend you have. And your second best friend, he introduced me to it, got to be hair glue.
Oh, got to be.
This
Got to
is
be the
hair
best thing ever.
glue.
It's glue.
Do not use it in your real hair and only use it when you're done. I tried using it before I was done.
I've used it in my real hair.
You have?
You don't,
Yes,
you,
You're
it's
meant
you
to.
can literally defy gravity with that stuff.
you don't need good hairspray for your wig because
You
good
don't.
hairspray actually has things in it to work with the proteins in your hair. You don't have that with your wig. This is
Yeah.
plastic. So you want something that's essentially glue. Something that is glue is got to be. If you saw me traipsing around as my shining armor yesterday, I was the jerk with the banner that was blocking everybody's way.
You mean that awesome guy?
Yeah, that awesome guy.
Oh, that awesome guy. He was cool.
The highlight here and on the side of my head are held in place. The reason they don't move even when I walk around is because I have that much got to be in it.
I think
You
it's
know, I should
crusty.
use more of my
yeah,
curls.
it is crusty.
You see, not sure how familiar you'd be with like Kingdom Hearts cosplays, but there are a lot of spiky wigs and stuff like that, or like Dragon Ball Z cosplays. Yeah, they do that with those.
Which
You need
makes
to go
sense. I was gonna say something. Oh.
Okay,
Also, I'm sorry. You need to go on to the next topic.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine.
our princesses aren't here yet, so we'll get back to wings in a moment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we're gonna have our good friend Verve here talk about making horns.
What?
Great
Herpaderp.
success.
Okay, what's it doing?
Herpaderp.
Please wait. Loading.
We're having technological difficulties. Oh wait, it's technological differences. I love
Oh
the
wow,
movie.
those lights
I haven't
are
seen it.
painful. I just now looked up at them.
Oh, one little tiny thing I was gonna mention with the wig. If you need a straight wig, don't buy a curly wig and try to straighten it. That's a bad time.
I'm sorry, shame on anyone who does it.
Princesses are here.
Okay, good. By the way, if you guys want sites for wigs, you can talk to me afterwards, and I'll give you some good websites, or my Facebook, and I can link them to you. I have a bunch.
It's true, she does.
I have actually sites for everything, honestly.
Hi there. My name's Hannah. I'm also known as Verve, and I am the future Twilight Sparkle cosplayer. I also do Queen Chrysalis, Portal, and a couple others. But today we will be talking about how to make My Little Pony horns for cosplay, along with Homestuck horns. It's the same method. It can be used for other cosplays and also minor props. So what we're going to do first is kind of look at how horns are supposed to sit on a wig head. For some reason people get this wrong. When you look at My Little Pony, their ears are always here, normal, and their horn is always on their forehead. But a problem we see is instead of having, this is my Twilight Sparkle wig, instead of having the horn on the forehead, we see a lot of people who put the horn straight up. They look like not a pony. They seem to look like some kind of freakish Teletubby. It's not very attractive. And the ears are always here. So the first thing I want to talk about is making sure your horn is on your forehead so you actually look like a pony and not some sort of freak experiment that's gone wrong. Now, a lot of people buy Yaya horns, which those work well. I know lots of people who use those, but I myself like to make my own. And that's just me. So what I do is, you can see my horn sits on here. There are no headbands that go with this. It uses a button snaps I've heard one or two people use. They're fantastic. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is detach my horn from my wig and the wig head just to show you how I build it. It's fairly easy and quite thrilling, actually. So the basic idea is the horn, as you can see, nice and shiny, little grooves, is actually made out of super sculpted clay, which means it's a little bit heavy, but it could be a lot worse. Now, the clay itself, I've already carved the groove that goes around. That's kind of a big thing for the horn, so you don't look dumb. And I always coat my horns with this very sparkly kind of paint to give it that little magical, kind of make it just add a little bit of a touch. Now the way I attach my horns to my wig, because I also do chrysalis, and I also did a Caterpie cosplay where it has the little red headband right in the front, is I use button snaps. And you can see I've glued the button snaps to the bottom of the horn, and I've glued the matching part to a piece of cardboard from a pizza box, because that's what you do. And pretty much the idea is you go to the wig, you snip a small hole in the mesh part between wefts on the wig, that way you're not really like pulling the wig apart or have to worry about it falling apart, and you just snap through the holes. And that holds it nice and steady. You'll definitely want 2, maybe 3. I say 2. Doing just 1 is, trust me, not the most steady thing in the world. I wouldn't trust it. You know what? In fact, don't use cardboard. Go to Hobby Lobby and buy some plastic berets and use them, because they're more shaped and last longer. But this was my first time doing it, so cardboard. So, like I said earlier, the horn itself is made from super sculpty clay. My Queen Chrysalis horn, which I have stored away right now, actually has an aluminum foil core, which makes it much weaker, but it makes it lighter. So it's kind of a trade-off. It's really your decision. I'm guessing since this has a more even shape, it's not like Chrysalis's oddly shaped horn, that it would probably be okay to be using aluminum foil, but the chrysalis horn has broke before. And all you have to do, the thing about it also is sometimes it tends to slip a little bit. Like if you bump the horn, then you might be in a little bit of trouble, but the good thing is button snaps are a quick release, so instead of just annihilating your wig and breaking your horn, you are just having a quick snap, your horn falls off, then you can button snap it back on. So I just get my button snaps and just snap it back into my wig, and there you have it. How to make a Twilight Sparkle horn and the other My Little Pony horn. It's fairly easy, and button snaps. I highly encourage button snaps for everything cosplay. Thank you, and I hope you'll come and watch a few more videos on basic cosplay tips and hints. Have a good one.
I'll make one comment about what she was saying. One of the things she mentioned was how it was the first time she used cardboard, and she was saying use plastic instead. Everyone makes mistakes when they do their first anything for the first time. It happens.
Cosplay's all about experimentation.
It's all about mistakes.
It's all about
You
experimentation and doing horrible things and figuring out you did something awful.
And the important thing is not just getting better. It's enjoy what you do, no matter how your cosplay looks. Just have fun. But as you get better, it gets even more fun.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Learn from your mistakes, and you happen to see someone and you like something they did. Talk to them. Go, hey, that's really cool. And most people are more than willing to tell you, how they did stuff.
They like to talk about themselves and what they did.
Exactly, yep.
Oh yeah.
It's natural.
Yeah, that's why we dress up like these things. But you don't need button snaps.
Buy some buttons.
Elastic works just fine. It actually holds it on your head pretty well.
I did use her clay method. That's what this is. Then it is painted to the color you'd need, and it's got an elastic band that's drilled through it. I would highly encourage that you curve the back of them, otherwise it hurts.
Yeah, if you want to be super complicated, the horns Celestia and I are wearing are actually attached to headbands that we actually punctured through our wigs, so it holds them in place and keeps the wig from going 60 million different directions. You have to be willing to cut wefts out of your wig, though, in the center, and that can be a little scary. But that's what we did.
For such a big horn, because the Alec horns have a much larger horn, we couldn't go with the snap method. It would just snap right off into our eye.
Yeah,
And that
ow.
would just be unpleasant.
But the main thing with horns is just your positioning. You don't want it way up here. You want it more here. So just trying to place everything on a single headband doesn't always work.
At least Dork's got me doing it. I used to wear my horn kind of like how Yaya Han does it in her examples. I tried to push it down a little bit more so it didn't look as retarded, but it didn't work out so well. So now they got me doing this too, where I stick it on my forehead first, and actually, it's not that bad. I like it.
Right.
Or you could just be a Pegasus and not have to deal with those awful horns.
Magic forever.
Now
Silly
our lovely
things.
princesses are going to talk about wings.
Yay, wings.
Yeah.
Okay. You wanna?
Totally
Okay,
down
you
away
wanna
for
start?
you.
The first and foremost thing is if you're going to do wings, is what material you want to work with. We're gonna say craft foam is fabulous. That's what Yaya Han makes hers out of. I don't know the little wings, but doing princesses, we needed
Something light because they're so big.
yeah. The first thing you need for any ever cosplay is reference pictures because you want to make it to you, but to the character. Oh, there we go! Yay!
There. Yes. Now, as you might notice in this series, the alicorns have more pointier wings, while all the other ponies are
Pegasi
really, yeah.
have rounded wings.
Have rounded wings. And you have to really consider between making it more realistic to you versus how it is cartoony in the show. When we first made this, I extrapolated the images of the wings into Photoshop to make it like a side angle view and printed a life-size copy if you know, like Celestia and Luna were our size. And it ended up being that proportionate to our body, the wings were way out there.
For
And
me, the wing was 3 feet this way and then like 1.5 feet this way, and I'm like, I'm not getting around a con with that.
It looked
Humans don't have
absolutely
wings for a
proportionate to
reason.
the reference, but it looked terrible in real life. So you have to like rework it. So when we made it smaller, like there were too many feathers and it made it like redonkulous. So then you have to kind of redesign it, but like keep the motif still going in it.
A base pattern is your best friend. So if you take cardstock or a piece of poster board and you cut out the pattern, we used the same pattern for every single one of these wings. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases that we layered. So the inside of these wings, can you stand up and go to the back? The inside of the wings are the exact same as the outside because we only had, you know, it's like when you're sewing, you use a pattern and you cut it out. And then we actually used, since we wanted to be able to position our wings, there's actually a skeleton on the inside of ours to give it support, and you can actually bend these feathers.
Yes.
Wire is lovely.
Yes. Inside is floral wire. It's a softer gauge wire, and it's like really malleable, but doesn't break as easy as copper wire. So you can position them. It's absolutely lovely.
When you make your wings, like after you've got your pattern cut out and you've actually gone to the craft foam, hot glue is your best friend. These are just hot glued together with
Along the edge, you like do like a seal.
craft foam doesn't like spray paint most of the time. Sometimes you get lucky. Like
That's your Mr. Magic here.
yeah, Mr.
Yeah.
Magic.
I
If
did
you
give
Witchcraft.
up and use house
Witchcraft.
paint 'cause I wanted it to be
if you
more
use
even,
acrylic
but-
paints and stuff, you shouldn't have any issue. But aerosol, like spray paint, Krylon and stuff at Walmart, that will literally eat the craft foam, and so you have lovely little bubbles, and it's like, no, that doesn't look good.
So you have to seal the craft foam with gesso. Yes.
I was just gonna mention, I don't know, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but they were talking about craft foam, but some foams, if you use them with hot glue, the hot glue will literally melt through the foam.
It melt-
It,
yeah,
it
melts
also
in mine.
depends on how hot your hot glue
That too.
gets.
Yeah.
It's always good to leave room. Thank you. It's always good to leave room for experimentation, like maybe get a small sample of something and then try out a couple things. There have been many, many times where I haven't done that and then really regretted it later.
What else? So to seal the craft foam, there's a couple different methods. Some people use diluted fabric glue along with water, and they like just coat it, and it's to close all the pores on the craft foam, so that when you do add the paint, it can't get into the little holes and start reacting with the foam. But we went for the gesso method. Some people just paint on gesso, and then you have
tell
to
them what
sand
gesso is.
Gesso is a canvas primer you can get at any like craft store, hobby store. So
Hobby Lobby.
when you get the canvases,
like
that white stuff on it, that's gesso.
It gives it a nice seal and it smooths it, and you can sand it. So if for some reason you make a little dent, you just put like Bondo or something in there and put gesso on top of it, and
Yeah.
woo, putty, not Bondo. It's not so good on
for our
Creflo.
wings, because we didn't want to spend time trying to get into the little grooves of all like the different layers trying to sand it, because you will have brush marks from the gesso. So we got spray gesso. Krylon makes a spray gesso, and we can only find it at Dick Blick's, the artsy fartsy store.
But it saves so much time. We got these wings painted in a night.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't made in a night, but they got painted in one night. It was fabulous. One of the things that with wings is, how the heck do you attach them to you?
Magic.
Yes, magic.
Yeah, that's where it gets fun.
Magic. Okay, we're done.
No,
There's
straps.
Straps, yes.
Yeah.
You can go for the strap method, like Rainbow Dash here. Turn. Let's see the back.
And you can do that because the craft foam's really
those,
light.
Those
so
are
it-
your
Wait,
Yaya
your wig,
style
so we can
wings.
see the-
There are several different methods you can use for that elasticy stuff. I'm not particularly fond of those, but that's just me.
Mhm.
I think they're cute.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like run into the problem of the strap being seen. Some people like stitch a little hole in the back and feed the strap through and then put it on and then kind of like shimmy their shirt on.
There's,
That's
as Hannah is so in love with, is button snaps. But you have to use Velcro and straps, and because button snaps have a tendency, if there's too much weight, they'll go.
Yup.
Plop
and
on
you'll be
out.
like, la-da-da. Oh, I can't fly
Yeah.
anymore.
Our butterfly wings are. Our butterfly wings that you probably saw Luciv and I wearing earlier have button snaps, but they're really, really light, guys. That they're fine.
When you got wings made of styrofoam, they're not exactly heavy.
I'm gonna show. Can you hold?
Yep.
I'll
had a
hold
little
it.
bit of issue because I'm kind of particular. I didn't want strap showing, but I have a strapless dress. So since we used heavy duty wire in our wings, we actually got to do strapless wings. Those were a little bit more difficult. This is the first time we've done strapless wings. So what we did is it's a 9-gauge wire.
Yes.
A 9-gauge steel wire. We used like a crisscross. So we basically braided this thick steel steel wire.
Are you gonna pull it out?
Yeah, because mine are easy to come out
That's good.
for the most part. And basically pushed it against my body while I was wearing this dress and figured out the contours of my back, braided it into 2 loops so that the wings were supported in not just one pressure point, but 2. Oh, there's my strapless back.
I'd like to state I love this method. I've tried using it
much.
before. It is very difficult to do and do well.
So it looks a little janky, but it definitely does the job. So what we did is this is 9-gauge steel wire, and then we wove it through. This actually goes all the way up to the top of the wings to give it that lovely. That's why my wings stand straight up, is because the wire is super, super thick. It doesn't bend often, so if I wanted to like curl the whole wing down, I'd possibly snap that wire. The higher the gauge, the more malleable you're going to have. But this crisscross gave it the strength I wanted it, and then the 2 different the U-bar 2 different lines means that the pressure is not on just one point, it's on 2 different ones. And then this wire in the center, this is just copper wire, is because the wings like to spread out, since this the gauge is so thick that it's like, wee.
I'm just gonna let you know, just in case anyone doesn't know, the lower the number of the gauge, the thicker the wire.
Right, and
Just
more
making sure.
brittle, right, because it's more likely to.
And you're gonna
Sometimes.
need bigger and bigger things to cut it. So
Yeah, wire cutters
I
are
had to walk
great.
into Lowe's with my wings to have them cut the wire because my snips weren't heavy enough.
It was
That was fun.
it was hilarious.
I would imagine.
For strapless, the only method for it to really stick up is to do the U-bar, because you are spreading out the pressure and the weight along your whole back instead of like just one, because some people try to do it like have it go into one and go down your spine. That can't work, because then it'll just try to like flop on you. So you got to like spread out the surface area
That was
to
my problem.
alleviate the pressure on the wings.
U-bar. It's in the shape of a U. And there's tons of tutorials online. Not so many for the strapless wings. We looked and didn't really see that much, so that's why we kind of winged this. I made a pun.
Lazy comedy. It's lazy comedy.
Yeah, puns.
I guess I should curtsy since I'm Luna today.
Oh, princesses.
Another thing, especially for her dress, sometimes your dress might not be tight enough and might not be fitted. What we have underneath her is this special like corset girdle. It's essentially like a tummy tucker, but like it has like all these hooks on the front, but it's super skin tight, sucks her in, but we can put it between her back and that, and then her dress is on the outside. So her back, the wing metal, that tummy tucker. Oh, the tummy tucker, and then the dress.
We had one of the corset thingy-bobbers. We actually also played with the idea of, I've seen strapless wings where they actually use elastic and attach it all the way around and like
Around your front.
around the front so that it helps. The wings will go doot 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 a little bit, but it's another way to do it if you don't want to be a guy in a corset walking around like this.
It's not that bad.
But
Shut up, Dash.
unfortunately, at least for me, I'm too fat for that, and I'd look like a sausage having elastic going.
Yeah, and the corset gives it like one of the Celestia's wings here is just they're tucked into her dress and she doesn't have one of the corsets on, so we have her wig is lovely and long, but underneath there's pins holding up her wings all over her dress because we don't want them flopping around and whacking people in the face.
This dress is much larger on me than expected, and trying to sew through like 7 layers of wedding satin and boning is not gonna happen. So we tried the best we could.
And then paint and put them on and
Yes.
be fabulous.
Our spray paint, the one that we used, is to match our dresses. That's what we tried to go for.
Woo.
Since Krylon doesn't make every color under the sun, we got Montana Gold. It's also sold at Dick Blick's. It's really good. They have like 1 million colors. Look on their website, so you can match any color of your fabric, so you're like more accurate to your pony costume.
So it's not as scary as it sounds. We had fun with it, and even if you have more questions, you can ask us after the panel.
Internet's your best friend. There's always lots of tutorials on it. Oh yeah.
Cutie marks.
Okay, so yeah, cutie marks. I have lots of ways that I've done these. This would, yeah, you wanna have a cutie mark. That's, I really,
They're kind of important to the characters
Kind
on
of a
the
big
show.
Yeah,
deal,
it-
unless you're Cutie Mark Crusader.
yeah.
Unless you're doing doing a
I-
specific
Sorry.
outfit.
I have a respect for a good cutie mark crusader because I think that's really difficult to do because you don't have that distinguishing mark to indicate what you are. But oh, good.
Your cutie mark doesn't have to be some giant thing on your clothing. My cutie mark for this costume is right here. It's a pin.
Make it work with what you're doing.
Make it work with your costume.
With his rarity he's doing right now, if he's got some huge overt thing, it's gonna look ridiculous. I did mine as kind of this is actually a pen that you can just take off, and it's just got this lovely little pin on the back. This would be my newest method. There's what I do is I make mine out of various things. The recent one I really like is using fabric and adhering it together with some form of fabric adhesive, like my favorite would be Wonder Under. It's a 2-sided adhesive. You iron one side on, then you peel the backing off, lay it where it's going, and you iron the other side on. It's really great. It's pretty durable. If it comes off a little bit, you can put more on and fix it. And then to do something like this, after you've made your actual shape and adhered it together, the instructions for that stuff, by the way, are on the packages. It's pretty easy to use. I had no clue what I was doing. Came out great. But yeah, this stuff is also braced with really heavy interfacing on the back, and then I have fabric glued a button pin to it, so that you can do stuff like this to it. The other method is dash stand up. You can paint them on. Yeah, that looks really good if you do it right. You have to be very careful because you're painting on fabric. You don't get to fix it.
And you don't know how some fabrics will handle the paint, so be very careful about that. And again, try to do like a little test example.
Yeah, if you happen to have a piece of that fabric lying around, by all means, always test what you're working with. Always test what you're working with.
You can actually, with the fabric paint, you could actually stencil it. You get freezer paper. Normally it's used to wrap up meat in butcher shops and stuff. Well, one side of it's plastic. If you very gently iron it on, you should cut out your stencil first. But once you cut out your stencil, if you very lightly iron it on, just enough so it stays, you could just paint over it, and then you have to peel it up right away. I let it dry once. That wasn't good. And it took half the cutie mark with it. But you lift it up, and you got almost a perfect cutie mark right there. I've never personally tried it with multicolors. It should work.
Done similar things. A lot of them, if you're using an actual fabric paint, they should have instructions on them how to heat set them. you should heat set them.
You should heat set them.
Yeah.
Yeah, heat setting's
Fabric
awesome.
markers.
There's fabric markers.
Because if you wash them, it's less likely to just get destroyed. My original method that I was the vinyl scratcher part of the weekend, wandering around with the big boombox. It's not real overt on there. It's just a little one about right here. That's just actually a printed iron-on. I will say if you're gonna do one of those, you really should cut it to the shape of it because there's this nice square that you can see if you actually look at it.
You need a little bit of a square so it stays though.
You should give it some breathing room around it, but I want to redo that one at some point because I'm not happy with it. I'm also kind of a perfectionist, so you have that going. There's the iron-ons. There's this. Yes.
Craft
and
foam.
there are
We
certain
love craft foam.
situations where you can use craft foam, such as this, and you can use your cutie mark as an accessory rather than it being actually attached to. This is actually more in the accessory range, but I mean, you want to have it on there somewhere. It does you wonders. It really does.
For rarity, you can make it your jewelry. I plan on making like little earrings with the cutie mark on it. It'd be so cute.
Yeah.
You guys really not hear me?
I can't.
There
hear
are
you all
people
that.
way
I said
back
for
there.
rarity, you
Audience
can have
now.
fun with it and
Oh,
like
wow.
make it jewelry or something.
can't
It'd be so
believe
much fun.
Just make
So.
your cutie mark match your costume, match the personality of your character. Cause
You don't need to make them huge. The couple suggestions we have. Someone hold the microphone for me for a second. Yeah.
I can't get it out.
Microphones. Yeah, there we go. So the couple ways that we have decided we prefer them is you do one here where you'd find a logo on like a polo shirt or something. You could do them on like your hips or something, or you do them on your butt.
On your butt, really?
Yeah,
yeah, for my vinyl scratch, I have them on my butt.
You do?
Yeah.
yeah.
I've
He's
seen
got. I see a lot of people do them like that, and I mean, if you do them right, they look fine. Be creative with it. Think about it. Always, you could try sketching something out. It doesn't have to be, super pretty sketch, but something. It gives you something to play with.
I've seen them as belt buckles before, like big
Yeah.
like
Ooh, that's a good one.
belt buckles in the center.
That can
Those
work
look real
too
cool.
if it's done right.
Yeah.
For my original rarity, I had different gloves, and I actually put the cutie mark on the gloves. So when I posed, I was all like, So, get have fun with it. Make it, maybe put it into your pose.
Basically, the name of the game when it comes to pony cosplays is just your personality and have fun with it. Be creative. Not a lot of cosplay communities get that choice. Most of the time, when you're cosplaying, you're trying to adhere to what a character looks like. I have to dress like them. I have to have my hair look like them. I have to have their props.
Anime is very much that way.
Yeah, we actually get a lot of freedom to be creative. So by all means, be creative.
And it's the reason why you see so many different versions of the same thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the really cool thing about having a little bit of a creative license.
We're actually going to open it up for questions now. So who has questions? You're close. You're close. You can ask questions.
About the iron-on cutie marks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Should we pass around a mic to the audience?
Yeah.
I can do it. I'm not wearing anything too complicated.
All right.
There you go.
Thank you. About the iron-on cutie marks, is that paper pretty expensive?
The actual the backing part of it.
The Wonder Under.
Oh, Wonder Under. Oh, Wonder Under is dirt cheap. You can get a yard of that stuff for like $2.
All right.
There's if you're really worried about it, they make a heavy duty version, which is a little more expensive. I mean, really, you really don't need a whole lot of it. Experiment with it.
Expensive.
It's still pretty cheap. I mean, I have tons of it. It was on sale at one point, and I bought like 5 or 6 yards of it because I use it for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but you're an
It's-
art student.
That's beside the point.
Try to-
It's really good for a lot of different kind of fabric things when you just don't want, if you're doing something really small. I tried sewing one of these on something once. Oh, it was a disaster. It looks just terrible.
That's why I use fabric paint. I like screw sewing.
Fabric paint works too. Did that help?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You over there?
I don't know how to.
Just speak very. It's pretty loud.
I'm unfamiliar.
The
Paper crafting, well, nothing really like in like the pony world requires something so big. That would be more for like armor, like
Oh, is that like the paperclip kind of
yeah,
stuff?
like Mass Effect cosplay,
I
like
did-
Samus cosplay.
I'm working on something with that. I haven't started it yet.
I think I know you're working on, but I'm gonna like ruin your dream. I did see a really well done Canterlot guard at ShadowCon. He had massive armor and everything. It was pretty cool.
I do know from my friend who's done that, you do make like the paper base like perfect, and all you do is coat it in fiberglass because fiberglass is really light and it makes like the hardest shell in the world. Her helmet fell like 20 times during the convention, and it was like this giant ochre thing going.
People would like scream when it hit the ground. She's like, no, it's cool.
Yeah.
Don't
so
worry, I got this.
use
Good
paper
cosplay.
craft and coat it in fiberglass.
Make
and
your
read those
cosplays
fiberglass
durable.
instructions because that is itchy stuff. Super itchy.
Durability is a good thing.
Very.
Hence our wings. Sometimes cheap isn't so bad though. If it's like a one shot, then don't spend $50 on it. I've wasted
Glimmer
money.
wings.
Thrift if you can, you know.
Yeah.
If you can, don't do it.
Okay.
These are so bad.
Any other questions?
About anything and everything.
Oh, okay. So
Experimentation.
I'm awful at that.
budgeting is an interesting one. You wanna, I toy with that one a lot because there's a lot of times I've got several that I really want to do, but I look at them like, okay. In a lot of cases, you're using clothing, and don't break the bank if you don't think you're gonna wear it any other time. Like my vinyl scratch, I have white shorts. I don't really wear those. They're kind of thin, so that's fun. But yeah, for something like that, use get stuff that's decent. Don't destroy your budget if that's a concern, unless you're crazy.
Be
What?
careful,
I'm not
though.
Crazy. I'm
Like,
beautiful. I'm
I
a very
wasted a lot
important
of money.
pony.
Seriously,
Yeah.
be careful. Like, think about your purchases. Like, when we were trying to make gems and stuff for our upcoming cosplay, we weren't sure how to go about it. So we came up with a bunch of different ideas and decided, let's not think about this. Let's dive in head first. I've probably wasted well over $100. It's not fun.
Yeah, once you know what you're doing, you're gonna spend less. Most of the money that I've wasted on cosplays is with experimenting and failures.
If you're
Just
gonna
be careful.
If you're going to experiment with something, a good idea is always to not actually do it. Experiment with a little piece of something. Like if you're gonna try to heat set a cutie mark on something, get a little piece of fabric or cheap junky shirt that you don't like. Try it on that, and if that fails, well, you didn't waste your good stuff.
Yeah.
Also, coupons. I
Coupons are
really
awesome.
adore coupons. Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, and Dick Blick all have coupons. You just
Michael's
go
the
on their
best.
website and you sign up. You get ones in the email, ones like in regular snail mail. You just like apply them. Like some stores take their competitors' coupons, and
Coupons
like
are your best friend.
and you just
in
got to
the
read the
world.
fine print. Like, what is it? One day, like, I needed a fleece for costume. Fleece was half off, and then I had a 20% off sale items. So that was super cheap, and it really goes. And get those like frequent shopper cards.
And you can do good cosplay on a fairly low budget if you put a lot of effort into it. I mean, like our dresses. What? This was.
I got this dress at the thrift store because I did not want to sew a whole.
Yeah.
Your best
whole big-
friend, thrift stores.
Yes. Oh, also at the thrift store. Sorry to bother.
Go.
They sell bed sheets. I know bed sheets, like making cosplay out of bed sheets, it's weird, but sometimes you can find bed sheets that nobody used, and the thread count is at like 800, and that's better than some of the cotton that you can buy at Joann's.
Yeah.
So really consider that.
Thrifting is really good. Like I mean, I like to make my cosplay, but I'll thrift stuff. I mean, this is an old bridesmaid dress from a wedding that I never thought I'd wear again, and look, it matched Luna. Huh.
Luckily, most pony cosplays are closet cosplays. This is all bought. White
Same.
business shirt, white business pants. I got this. This is like a very cheap wedding vest that I got off of eBay, and it had a matching tie. This was all bought. If your goal when you're doing like a main 6 character, unless of course you're doing a very specific costume, is you want to look like that character if they were just walking down the street. That's what you're trying to hit.
If you're doing one of those, and think of it this way, and this is the way we've been explaining, is if you take your wig and your pony related things off and you're walking down the street, how weird would you look? Like would you turn heads and look at someone if they're walking down the street and say, a pale blue shirt and pale blue pants? I would. That was a bad idea.
Dash is glaring at you.
Ha.
You're not as weird looking as I was.
You can be.
Let's be honest here.
Yeah, he has a point.
Really?
No, you're not as weird looking. You actually
No,
look like you're
please
doing
sit
something
down.
track
Sit
related.
down, please.
But no, you just want to watch this stuff.
For a budget, I think the best thing that you're going to do for yourself is before you go buy anything, attempt to stitch anything, is have what you want to do, like, in your mind. No, I want my vinyl scratch to look like this. I want my derpy to, be this. I want my main 6 character with a skirt and a shirt, and, find something that kind of looks good. Or you can just come across a thrift store and go, oh, that would look fabulous.
Okay, we're done. Oh, I didn't really study your cosplay that much. I just looked and goes, oh, she did that.
Yeah, we didn't.
I didn't see
I
this.
kind of saw her at the script reading panel.
It's pretty.
Oh, I have a comment.
Then I saw her picture on Tumblr, so that's the most that I've seen of it. She did a
Yeah.
pretty good job. As I said before, if you take the wig off and the horn, she has like an everyday outfit on.
Purple
She did have a cutie mark on. I believe she had it on her necklace. She had her. It was pretty good. It was pretty good, gotta say.
Though I do know where she got the wig from. When we were trying to find a Rainbow Dash wig, that was before they started mass producing them. And you could buy these wigs that came with the ears and the horns embedded in them. They cost over $100. It's not worth it, guys. Okay, you can probably do it for half that. Just saying.
If not less.
We might have time for one last question. If not, we can wrap this up.
So you
and-
can always talk to us
okay.
afterwards too. We're okay with that.
I've made mine out of
I like
my
Diana.
Rainbow Dash ears that I used are made out of Model Magic that Crayola makes. It's super lightweight and it's air dry, and it's also cheap. Oh my god, it's so cheap.
It's cool stuff.
And I then glued them to a headband. You could also weasel them into a wig in some other fashion. You want something light.
I do highly suggest ears for earth ponies, especially Applejacks, because as I said before, I really feel bad when there's an Applejack cosplayer, then I don't recognize that they're doing Applejack right away, because they have the whole farm or can thing going, and they don't have ears, and I get confused.
One thing, like these ears are attached by I didn't make these, but there's the ears here, and then there's 2 little I think they're carpet tacks actually
Carpet tacks.
shoved through into the ears, so they hold on to the wig, and I can just do this all day long, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, seriously, we can throw that wig in. Doesn't matter.
It's pretty great.
I've seen some cute ones made out of just 2 little pieces of fleece sewn together with a little bend in
That
them.
one's a good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cut a relief cut in the fleece, and then you're able to tack it together. Then you get the nice little scoop look
Yeah.
to it, and then you could just pin those on.
Oh.
I've done that before.
Be careful about making your ears too big. I saw this one Fluttershy, and I thought she was being a yellow cat, legit, because her ears were huge. And, yeah. Personally, I like ears. I'm just missing mine right now. I
Do
forgot.
what you think looks good to it's the cosplay's about how it looks on you. So if there's a cosplay that has ears and horn and everything that you think's fabulous, but when you try it on you don't really like it, that's okay. You can do what you want. It's your cosplay. You're cosplaying for yourself. You can be sassy and be fabulous. It's about you.
Be rarity, darling. Sassy is welcomed.
I am told there is a cosplay event later today. I believe around 3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a show up as you are. That's the most information that I have on it. It
I
should
believe
be
it's
fun.
a fashion show.
It is a fashion
It's
show.
a fashion show.
Okay.
So just show up and be fabulous. We look forward to seeing people there. Now, we are cosplayers, so we're incredibly vain, so please come up and talk to us if you want to. But
We love giving advice.
yes. But I thank you all for coming out, but we got to
Yeah,
wrap
thanks
this
for
one
wa-
up.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for waking up.
We love you.
Yeah, really.
Bye.
Thank you.
That's a wrap, guys. Sit closer, please.
Your base costume if you're doing like a main 6 and not like a specific outfit, like if you're doing, like I was shining armor the other day, so I had my red military uniform on. Or if you're doing future Twilight, you would have like the tight skin suit on. Those are very specific costumes. Most of the time, if you're doing like a main 6 character, you're going to have to interpret it, in which case you're just trying to match the personality of the pony. That's why I wore this. Can everyone still hear me? Okay, yeah. Without the wig, I'm not gonna take my wig off.
Good idea.
This is, yeah, I look horrifying without the wig.
Oh, duh.
It's nightmarish.
This is just a normal outfit. It's just white pants, white shirt.
You just look
simple
snazzy.
vest. Yeah, just a snazzy vest because
Twilight, you stand up. You show off yours too.
Rarity always dresses in fashion.
You go from this
Oh God.
Why?
No way.
creepy
Gross.
to look at that.
Cosplaying now.
Oh my god. I'm a pony.
Yeah, one of the. I mean, there are
Mine's
obviously
specific, so
some
I can't do
exceptions to
that.
that, such as if you're doing Discord or something like that, because it's just kind of gonna be a little different. Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah, I enjoyed that sister. One of my favorite examples is this silver spoon here.
You guys can sit down
That
now.
costume is all wig, glasses, and necklace. That's all that is. And that's a
Oh, and
pretty
the way
damn
she
good
does
silver
it.
spoon.
Yeah, carrying yourself is a lot when you don't have a really elaborate cosplay.
Act like your character.
The attitude.
Arrogant.
Fashionable.
Nerd.
Fabulous.
The other thing that we highly suggest is having indicators. So ears, horns, wings, something to tell people that you're cosplaying a pony. Just because there's been several times when
Pro tips.
pro tips. Okay,
Shut
so
up.
first we're gonna start off with what not to do. There's 3 main mistakes that, or improving points, I should say, that we notice with pony cosplays. One is doing too little. Oh, way to go back.
It's kind of low, so you have to read off everything.
You did that to me.
Yeah, I did that to you.
Yes, that's a fine example of what you don't do.
Yeah, that's a fine example of what you don't do.
That one doesn't exist anymore for a reason.
That's doing too little. Don't
That's
just.
also a good example of don't make yourself just a solid color of your pony and nothing else.
I love the pink.
The other is doing too much. And what I mean by that is trying to make your costume look like a costume. You don't really need Vocaloid sleeves or fur leggings or anything like that to make your costume a costume. If you want to wear those, that's fine, but there's a lot of people that we notice that, yeah, we have a friend here that does that too.
I'm pretty.
Yes, you are pretty.
You know, I'll admit, we were kind of being amateurs about that.
Yeah, and the most important thing is people not dressing up to the personality of their pony. Rarity would never dress like this.
Oh, that
Oh,
one.
yes.
Oh my.
I
Yeah.
saw this woman, and she, like, I met, well, okay, I didn't meet her, but I saw her at a convention.
That was
and
Anime
at first
Expo.
I'm like, oh, purple hair, Rara. Oh.
Oh my,
She's
look
very
at the time.
pretty, but I was
To be-
very perplexed.
To be fair, it was an anime convention, so I mean,
Ponies go to
Animus.
anime conventions?
you never
Oh yeah,
know.
That's-
Animus. So you're what you're really trying to do when you cosplay ponies is you're trying to dress to that pony's personality.
Into this.
You didn't.
No, not at all.
But it suits the character, right?
I don't usually wear rainbow things.
Yes,
Okay.
what are you talking about?
Now we're gonna get into more of the crafting aspect of making a costume, and Kelly here's gonna tell us about wigs.
All right, darling, so here's the business. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So, for me, cosplay breaks down into 3 parts. Your outfits, how you carry yourself in your poses, of course, and then your wig. It can make or break a cosplay to a point. A shitty wig can, oh, I'm so sorry. A crappy wig can really take away from a very well done cosplay. And a really fabulous wig can actually make a cosplay you kind of ignore the little details. Just looking up wigs on eBay does not quite cut cut it. You guys should seriously do some research when you're doing cosplay wigs. Well-
I'm more than willing to cheat. Like, if there's something pre-made,
Oh no, that's
I
fine.
will
Oh,
buy
yeah,
that
by
in a
all
minute
means,
because
if
I'm
you-
lazy, just like
Styling
everybody
is
else.
hard.
This wig, totally pre-made, fantastic, love it to death. I trimmed it because obviously I don't need a Twilight wig down to my butt.
Do not spend $100 on a wig, though.
You
This-
should spend around 30 to 40 though. You need something heat resistant so you can actually work with it.
Heat
That was my
resistant
part.
is
Because
your
I have,
friend.
yeah,
We're
I've
just
melted
helping.
wigs before. It's not fun. Unless you're doing a fursuit, which I know nothing about, you really can't like look like the characters on the show, like match how they physically look.
You're
So-
breaking her here.
Hmm?
You're breaking her.
Okay, I'll give you your section.
I'm gonna
No,
let
it's
you finish.
fine. That's perfectly
Okay.
fine. Maybe lose my
Um,
train of thought though. Oh, well, I was gonna say this wig. I was not styled. I decided I'm gonna style it myself, guys.
Fun times.
It did not happen very well at all. But yeah, buying pre-made ones, that's perfectly fine. No, do your research. Whenever I need a wig, I look at every. I'm sorry, I just love doing that. It's a lot of fun. Ooh, look at this crowd. Hey, you got elusive. The pressure's on.
I didn't prepare for this.
We'll
Well,
be fine because we're just so
I told
amazing.
you across your daily pony chats
Oh
that we're
wow,
having a panel.
yeah.
Why would you do that to us?
You are a douchebag.
Hey.
There's no one on there, mostly EST. Don't worry about it.
We're honored. Oh, and
Yeah.
fancy pants. What a delightful. I have a hangover, darling.
I like this variant.
I like it very much
I'm
that I can
having
control
fun
my
with
computer at
this.
this distance
Isn't that
without
the
a clear
point?
shot.
Please try to stay closer to the front, just because fun.
It will be double.
That's a very good Dr. Adorable.
Ah!
Well, okay. Originally, I
That
thought
means
we
you're
would
on
have to
Tumblr. Good for
scream,
you.
but-
Yay! Oh, that might have made my morning.
Don't. First rule of Tumblr is you don't talk
Okay,
about
this
Tumblr.
isn't too bad. I mean, it's not overwhelming.
You
We can
did.
handle this. We're good. We got
know.
this.
Good time.
I'm not sitting at the table and I feel left out.
Yeah.
No
Ready?
table for
You're
you.
breathing. Come on, elusive.
Ready,
breathe with
calm
me.
down. Just be awesome.
Yeah,
But those dresses, they were a
Cool.
combination. I still wish I was wearing the Celestia crown.
Do you want to move that? I had that at an angle because someone was standing.
It doesn't really matter because it can still hear me, I think.
We're gonna have more people coming in.
Woo!
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome to How to Cosplay a Pony. We basically started this panel because we've been to a couple pony cosplays and been to a few conventions.
Just a few.
One too many.
And there's a lot of one of the things we noticed is there's a lot of fans that this is their first convention, this is their first time cosplaying, and we're nerds and I've kind of done this for a while, so we just want to give some pro tips.
It's always helpful, trust me.
And
Mitch, can you do a disclaimer real fast?
Yeah.
These are our personal opinions. I mean, we
Yeah.
feel like it's just what we really think. Of course, you don't have to follow us. We're not telling anyone what to do. It's just our suggestions.
yeah, we could totally be full of it right now. And I don't know why any of you would be listening to us.
Fabulous, that's why.
If
I
you,
figured that.
one thing to say about make sure people can tell what you are. It's kind of sometimes if you're going for obscure characters, it's gonna happen. But
Ears on. Stop it.
if you're going for like a very known character and people are asking you who you are,
There's
kind
a
of gets a
problem.
little. It gets a little sad. You start to feel a little like,
It gets
oh.
awkward.
That
Like I've run
happened to
into
me
Pinkie Pies
many
before
times.
that I didn't quite realize they were Pinkie Pies right away. Then I felt bad.
And it's not just
You-
for like the other people; it's for yourself too. Because when people start asking, you start to feel like,
You start
Yeah,
questioning
great.
yourself a little bit.
yeah.
It's you can have the occasions where you might do an interesting variant of like a main six. I doing an awful job remembering anything specific right now.
Fly a rainbow dash.
Okay, well that's still pretty apparent though, because you got your cutie like real apparent.
Yeah.
I love this
If you're not quite sure how to dress your personality, there's a lot of fan art because our fans seem to like be obsessed with this show or something and seem to draw a lot of art. So if you're not quite sure what to do,
Use some
Derpy
Google.
the internet is your friend, and you can find something.
It's also gonna
DeviantArt's your best friend.
It's also gonna think about your own personality. Like, I've honestly been questioned about my Rarity dress plenty of times because people usually go for the form-fitting, classy style for her. Well, my favorite fashion is Lolita, so I went with a Lolita style to Rarity. So you can kind of mix in your own personality a little bit so long as it suits the character you're trying to portray. And of course, have fun with it, guys.
I did not mix my personality